items before we get started. Please make sure your laptop is plugged in when you put it away. There's one, I don't know, maybe within the first 5 that you'll have to, that cord is actually a little bit lower than it, that you need to pull it up and plug it in. I've plugged it in the past couple of days. I'm not gonna plug it in anymore, so it'll be dead tomorrow. So make sure when you put your laptop up, it is plugged into preferably the USB-C that is close to it. If you have not signed in and created a PIN and done all the work for scholarship, you need to do that. I have not seen anybody do that yet. Usually it'll come to me and just send me a quick email and says, so you have these to check over. So, has anybody done that?
The scholarships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that before I got here.
I think I did that before I got here.
Today. Before you came to class?
Yeah.
Okay, I saw the ones before I came to class, but some of you guys, yes.
I did that before I even got to the school. Like I did that like.
Yeah, I got those, but the rest of us who, like, we went to the spot on the website to do it. I haven't seen any other ones since we started class. So I'm looking to see those. So if you've already done one, I probably already scored it. I don't see the names on them, so I just see, like, so when I talk about it, the next day I should see some populate. And so I've talked about it for a couple days and I've seen none populate, so I'm assuming that you did not do it. So I can go down to financial aid and check to see if you have, but you need to get that done. All right, so a couple of pieces for our 135s. If you would take, there is 6 different pages you need. You can staple them if you want. Find your 6 pages and then move on.
That is very.
These are complicated.
Yeah.
This is what we are going to start with. I want you to have drawn at least the first 3 by Monday, okay? So if you're a 101, this is not you. If you're, if you're a 135, this is you, because I saw some eyes getting big, like, I think I'm in the wrong class. So this is the king. The king and queen are the most intricate. Those are gonna be the last ones that we do. I went ahead and made modules, at least a few modules available for you on Titan, and I also put the link, so I put the PDF, the inspection sheet, and then a link to the Titan CNC guys drawing this with you. So you can draw it with them in there, but I'd like to have, I think the first one is the pawn. The pawn is super simple, super simple. Good. Yeah, no problem with it. Next is, I think the bishop is next. I don't think it's.
That one looks hard.
Yeah, that one won't be hard. That one's just 4-axis. And I think that maybe it's the pawn, the bishop, and the knight are the first 3. I'd like to see you have those done by Monday, because we're going to jump into those and we'll start turning on those on Monday. So those are going to be pretty straightforward. If you
look hard.
The rook, one of them starts to do a little bit of kind of full circular stuff that will take us just a little bit more time to do. But the king and the queen are by far the hardest ones to do. And it's not even so much that they're so hard. It's that they're pretty intricate as far as, like the king has the cross on it. That cross is like fragile. So you're not taking a 50,000, even a 50,000 cut with that. You're taking like 10,000 passes with that. I mean, you're gonna like scare it off of there. That's how gentle you're gonna need to be on there with it. So a couple of them will take a couple of specialized tools that we need to work on. We're gonna be running the robot on some of these parts too. We've got to figure out some ways to be able to hold this part so we can do the secondary operations on it. When they make this part, they actually do it on the live tool lathe, so it's way easier. So you could turn it, mill it, part it off. We're going to turn it, do a secondary operation using the robot in the mill to tap a hole in the backside or thread mill a hole in the backside so we can screw them onto a fixture. We'll need to make that fixture and stuff so that we can get all of that done. First couple ones are just 4-axis parts. And then we'll move into 3+2, which will be 5-axis, but will not be simultaneous 5-axis. So we will not be doing any simultaneous milling. 3+2 will kill you. Okay, so like if you're like, oh, that sucks, I wanted to do simultaneous. 5-axis now means you're setting 5 individual work offsets for each part that you're doing.
Will we ever get to do simultaneous?
Let's get through this first.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get through this. Because like everybody goes straight to, I want to make a functioning lightsaber from day one. But then they can't turn the machine on. So we need to make sure we progressively work the right way. So don't let the first couple scare you. They're not that hard. The first 3 are pretty straightforward, 2-axis turning, and then using the rotary on mill 2. So, and then we'll get to the point where we're using, well, before we do that, we'll have to do the backside thread milling. But this stuff, you won't have that much of trouble doing. I'll tell you, when I create something in Fusion that's gonna be round, I would draw this, and I would revolve it across the center line. That's how I would do it. And that's not how everybody does it. Some people will build the diameters up. It's not how I do it. I think that's way harder to do. So everybody, oh, no, not everybody. Mikhail's got it. Wyatt needs it, and then that should be it. Okay. So here is what we are doing today. If I can make it all happen correctly. Okay, we're just gonna work off this. That's totally fine. Let's see, folder though. Here.
Have you made these yet?
I have made the pawn, and I actually jacked it up. I wasn't paying attention, and I put the grooves in it in the wrong spot. And I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I was like, man, I keep doing this, and they just are not in the right spot.
On your 3D model part of it?
No, so I drew it right, but then maybe it was when I parted it off. I parted it off at the wrong spot. But anyways, it's not right.
Was there 5 or 6 of them?
I think there's 6. So roughly this is what the pawn looks like, the turning side of it. And then the slots on it do not follow, or I can't remember if they follow this contour or they don't follow this contour. I think there are 3/8 radius through there. But so anyways, I've got actually one out on the machine, but it's not right. It's close, but it's not right.
So we're gonna turn it down 2 sides or something on the lathe?
We are going to turn it completely on the lathe and part it off.
Oh,
And then after turning it and parting it off, we've got to be able to hold it on the mill, since there'll be no stock for it to work with. So we're going to put we're going to tap a hole in the back side of it, and then we'll put a fixture on the 4th axis, which will just be a stud. So we'll screw them each onto the fixture. So,
Can you do that like with all of them? Okay.
yeah, so I've got on the printers right now, I've got 4 pockets being printed into a block.
Is that what the robot's gonna work with?
Yeah, the robot will pick the part of the backside of the card and then thread mill or drill and tap the hole in. I haven't decided yet. And then just take it back out. That's all it's gonna be doing. It's just the drilling and tapping operation on it. So it's gonna be super simple. Like, I will not even use. So like normally if I were to do that, I would use two chucks. I would grab one, I'd go and run it. While it was running it, I would use this one. Like on the same thing, I would go grab the next one. So that when the robot opened the door again, it would pull this one and then drop this one and then come back with one. Yes.
I have a lot, but I'm not sure which one I'm using. The stack over.
Okay, so do you have a pawn
use on
Really, really, really little bit, okay, just robot operations, all we're gonna do. Pick it up, drop it in, robot will come out, machining will happen, robot will pick it up, return it back, super, super simple. So I don't wanna get complicated with it because, final semester is really when we start to talk about robots. Okay, so we've got our camera working, so, just remember, all classes are recorded. Hopefully this week we'll have stuff posted up in Canvas or YouTube or however to make sure that, you know what everything is. So today, we're gonna do today, so it's Wednesday, we're at Module 3. We're gonna go through this one, I'm gonna do part of it, Clint's gonna do part of it, I'll do the easy part, Clint can do the hard part. And then, tomorrow, Clint's gonna do the entire thing, and I'm just gonna TikTok the entire whole time. So, and then after Thursday, we'll divide up, 135 we'll meet in here, 101 we'll meet somewhere else, but I don't know where yet. You can still come here and we'll just move you over to another room on Monday. You guys will finish 5 and 6. Because 135s, we will finish 5 and 6 throughout the semester. So we're gonna let them finish 5 and 6, and then we'll pick up the rest of it ourselves. I can't, in 8 weeks, there's only so much time to spend on other things, and we've got a lot of parts.
So we'll just do 5 and 6 on our own time?
Well, we'll pick out a couple of days throughout the 8-week section where we're in between two parts, and I'm like, hey, we got an hour and a half, let's go bust this thing out. Because I think the 135s can move through it faster than the 101s. The 101s need to take the time to do that. On 135, you guys have already been through a lot of that information, so none of that's new to you. So, all right, so let's go ahead and can you click me on? And so we're gonna kind of bypass some of. We're gonna quickly go through the safety stuff. Always eye protection out in the shop. Keep anything that's loose pulled back. Don't bring hands to close sharp objects. Don't bring hands close to sharp objects. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't leave your work area in a mess. How long should you leave to clean up? What's it, you say? It says 10 minutes. I would say 10 to 15. So, never leave broken or damaged tools unreported. If you break something, say something and we're gonna get it replaced. If you break something in the middle of just using it, we'll just get it replaced, no big deal. Now, if everybody breaks an edge finder one day and I don't have any more edge finders, then we'll be out of edge finders that day. But for the most part, I will keep you in most of the things that you need. You can click on pass through that stuff. Not only your general usage of tools, but also I will make sure that you have, we got shop towels in yesterday, so shop towels are out there and available. And then we've got simple green, so just clean your stuff up when you're done. Just always assume there's another group coming in after you to run parts, okay? That way, you just get in that habit of doing things. Okay. Keep on rolling. This is all just this, yeah. So we're gonna start working with this depth gauge. This depth gauge is an okay thing for us to get started with. It's not a depth micrometer. It's really just a depth scale, but it consists of a couple, 3 or 4 different pieces. You've got your lock, you've got the head, and you've got the steel rule. Some of them rotate and they have angle dimensions as well. I don't think these do. I think they're just straight up and down. It's recessed right here, so you can really get a good look at what that number is on there. I think 64ths, maybe 64ths and 32nds on either side of it. It is pretty easy to use. It is all hardened. Yeah, 64th is what the resolution is. So about 15 thousandths, about 15 and a half. It's really good for measuring the depth of holes. So sometimes you got a hole, especially if you take quarter 20 or so, you cannot get the rod from your caliper into it. You can get depth mic rod in there, but for quick measurements, this is a pretty good one to use. Okay. They range, this type of gauge ranges from 0 to 24 inches, depending on what it is that you're doing. The longer the scale gets, the wider the base gets. So we're just 6 inches, so it's pretty small. And just remember, they are for about 15, 16 thousandths is the best accuracy that you're gonna get off of it. So it's not a plus or minus one kind of tool. Alright. You also have a depth micrometer. Anybody know what kind of depth micrometer this is called, but it has this on it? It's a digit micrometer, so sometimes it'll be called a digital, because it has digits that move, but it's not a digital like electronic one, okay? So you have electronic ones. This is a depth mic. The thing about depth micrometer is you read what you don't see, so you're gonna read it in reverse of the micrometer. Then you have your vernier depth gauge, which is the same thing. It's just we got that vernier scale, so you're lining up lines and numbers on there. You have your electronic depth gauges. You see the longer it starts to get, the wider that the base gets, so that it stays stable on there. Your electronic ones will be able to go from standard to metric. Anybody know what IP67 is?
Waterproof reading.
Yeah, IP67 is almost completely waterproof. So you could stick this underwater and do your reading. So the shop I came from, we had wire EDM. Everything is submersible, so everything's underwater in the wire EDM. So I would just take my calipers, I don't have them out, take my calipers underwater, take my measurements, and that way I never had to drain the tank, because the tank was about 40 gallons. It drained pretty fast, but it didn't fill up quite as fast, so I just leave the tank full, reach in there, take my measurement, pop back out, and go. Several different depth gauges that are kind of spring-loaded, having a travel indicator on them. Anything from depths of grooves or for chamfers, several different types. Any kind of hole or recess measurement is what we're looking for on this. You can also measure outside chamfers if you want to. So you can find depth measurement even on your caliper, and we looked at that, so you can use a caliper for inside, outside depth and step. Next we're gonna look at the feeler gauges. Our feeler gauges are super, anybody have a set of feeler gauges at home? Yeah. Like I've got a set that I've had for probably 200 years, and they're just kind of like, I think I paid like $8 for them. This set that we have is like, it is beautiful, and there's not a whole lot of them. And you also gotta be really careful, because a couple of them, just like on a normal feeler gauge set, a couple of them are only about a couple thou thick. And they are like razor blades. They're like aluminum foil is what I would say. They get kinked and wrinkled pretty quick. You'll find that feeler gauges aren't biggest to smallest, but they've got those skinny ones kind of sandwiched in the middle there, just to kind of protect them. So, because I mean, the way I throw things in the box, or if it ever gets put back in the box, and if it doesn't, I blame my kids. But if those loose ones were to hang out on the end, I would just have had them destroyed a long time ago. So ours have, so something like this. So you get in here and you got your 1 thou, your 2 thou, your 3 thou, your 4 thou. All your real thin ones are sandwiched in between there. You've got the case, you've got your feeler gauges, you've got your lock device, and then you have all of your leads. You can get these, like separate blades. So like maybe your shop, you use them as shims. That's totally common to use them as shims if you need to shim up parts. You can get them long, you can get them in a roll, you can get them in a whole bunch of different ways. They're super accurate, they're precision ground, they are hard, they are free of burrs and free of curls, so they'll be flat. So there's not a sharp edge, but when they get thin, they get sharp. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. So be really careful when you do that. They are etched on each one of them, but remember, just like gauge block or like caliper or scale, the more you use it, the more you clean it. What you clean it with, if you're trying to use some like 90% alcohol, you will start to get that etching, that engraving off of there after a while. Standard metric, standard sizes and thicknesses. You can get them tapered or bent, you can get them 45 or 90 degrees, you can get them in leaves of whatever. There's metric with tapered ends, get into small areas. There is a 25-foot continuous leaf. I'm not sure what you're using that for, but it's got a purpose. Like whenever I have had a roll of it, we typically would just be cutting it off. So like we had a whole bunch of 3,000 shim, stack it up 3 of them, get 9 thousandths, and so that's what we were typically using it for. That looks as though, and that's probably what that you're doing with that. And so I don't think that that's super common, but it does happen. Screw pitch gauge will be similar. It folds out. You guys have those in your toolkits. It has selectable leaves. It has the case and it has some lock ends on it. So each one of those is going to be designated for a thread pitch in threads per inch for standard. And so for a metric side, it's going to be by pitch. So 15 threads per inch, 13 threads per inch, whatever it happens to be. You can use them for internal or external. For internal, you can only get so deep with it. You can't get something really far back there. All right. Yeah, you can even get them pipe thread, and you can get them in a Whitworth thread, which is 55 degrees. Our standard threads are going to be 60 degrees. Common ranges are the 2 1/4 to 84 TPI, and the metric is 0.25 pitch to 11.5 pitch. A couple different kinds on there. The ones that we have are not the steroid ones. I think when you're talking about a stamp pitch gauge like this, I don't know that it really matters the brand that you have, as long as you have the leaves that you need in there. So when we're looking at a thread, so think about this as kind of being a half of it. So you've got your other side of it here that you can't see. There's 2 words that are pitch. One is pitch diameter, and then the other is just pitch. Okay, so when this is going to be super helpful when you're in your 101 class, or if you're a 135 and you just forgot these things. Pitch is high point to high point, low point to low point. So it's the distance here, it's the distance middle, it's the distance there. So if you were to measure high to low, that's your pitch. But your pitch diameter is your midway between the thread by the diameter. Okay, so it's the center point. You have your major diameter or your crest, you have your minor diameter, that's how deep the tool goes into. So like for a half 13, let's just say nominally, we turn it to a half of an inch. We thread it down to about 400 thousandths, meaning we have 50 thousandths on each side. So our pitch is about 450, because that's the midway point of the thread, our pitch diameter. And then if we're half 13, our pitch is 76 thousandths, because that's what it is through here, okay? So our angle is almost always going to be 60 degrees. Most of the time, that is determined by the shape of the tool. So your threading insert, or if you created a threading insert, will create that angle. So almost all threads are 60 degrees, standard or metric, except for when you get into a British Whitworth thread, which is 55 degrees. Some funky motorcycle stuff is a little bit different, and you'll see some oddball stuff out there. Until you get into things like Acme threads, stub Acme threads, buttress threads, roll form threads, and some other things will be a little bit different.
I'm gonna skip this.
Yeah, we don't make things rusty, okay? That's what all these are saying.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
No, do you want that?
Yeah, just keep on, just run on through it. We're good, we've covered it, these people are smart. Okay, access the flip book, find page 20, and then we are gonna need some things out of the box. So, gloves, then you're gonna need the pitch gauges, you're gonna need the depth mic, or the depth gauge.
It's all in one drawer.
Yeah, all in one drawer. So grab everything out of there, please.
Yeah, one of those parts again.
Yeah, they'll need, go ahead and grab the, parts that are in the top of the box, those aluminum parts.
You ever had these?
No. You like 'em?
Yeah.
They stay on
They got a
good,
few
they're
different
a
styles.
little rubbery.
They're really good for anti-fog with these things.
Oh, yeah, that's
They work
nice.
great. They got a little. They're not tinted. They're blue UV or whatever. I've
Yeah.
got another pair at work. I love them.
But they're not magnified, are they?
No, they're great. I mean,
I need magnified.
they do have a set,
Do they?
but they've changed. They've got the rubber ones, and they've got ones that are thinner and longer.
Cool.
All sorts of them. I stole them for maintenance. They give us the shitty Smith & Wesson.
Oh, yeah.
Extendable. So maintenance gets the good ones. I got a buddy over at maintenance.
It's these ones, right?
Yes. No, that's combination square.
Combination square, yeah.
Yeah, you are in the wrong drawer.
Wrong drawer.
Wrong drawer.
So it should be a depth gauge, which was similar to the one that I showed you guys on the screen, and then some feeler gauges and some pitch gauges.
Everything we just did.
The next couple of slides.
There goes it. Field check.
For which ones do I have here? So show pictures, does it?
That's all of them. So depth gauge first, maybe?
Yeah, looks like it.
You want to just go here?
Yeah, let's just go there.
Do you want to have a setup here?
What's that?
Do we need a setup here?
Yeah, if there is an extra set, or I've got
There's
one.
that box there that's open.
Yeah, it's gonna have, go ahead and grab pitch gauges out of it.
I like this.
And I'm gonna go grab the depth, there's a depth gauge upstairs.
Okay.
But I don't think we'll have a feeler gauge set, so we just have to use a set from somebody else.
Research, so you're gonna put the eyeball next to the third one. Yep, and then click on the third one. No. So we have to get
I'm gonna, 135s, I'm gonna create, I'll put a submission box for your all drawings. So you'll keep your drawings, but just help keep you on track, and go ahead and put some submission boxes in there just to help keep you accountable to submitting those things. Those 3 drawings, I'd like to have them by Sunday, 11:59. So, okay.
And then the.
Cause I could already tell Mikhail was like, I'm just not gonna do it. Yeah,
And then the first immersive, that has all that.
yes,
By Sunday.
yes. Yeah, so first immersive has, I think, 4, maybe. Second one, maybe has 4 or 5. One has more than the other ones.
When do those need to be done?
Sunday, 11:59.
Holy crap.
You need
Yep.
cool pads for everything.
And
What's
I
that?
think
I
that's
said you
on
need
tonight.
us to do the.
I started on it last night.
No,
I didn't
No,
see it
just,
till
just
you
draw it
texted.
up. send
just
it.
draw it, yeah, just draw it and
I'll
submit
run my
it,
son over it.
and then, yeah, just make the drawing, and then we'll run the toolpaths on, yeah.
They're in immersive yet.
Yeah, syllabus, immersive is set up, it's MACH 135, all caps. There's a couple of modules already active there for you guys to get started in. Okay, so we're gonna go through and start doing the depth gauge field check. So grab your depth gauge. Mine is slightly different than yours, but for the most part, it's gonna be the same. So take a look at them. Is there any nicks, burrs, dings, anything broken? Is the gauge, does it not function properly? Does it function properly? It should, as you loosen this knurled thumb screw up, you should be able to slide it down. Oh, I didn't get gloves. Not sure why, but there's a full set of everything.
Oh, cool.
Helpful.
Get these videos.
Yeah.
Look at this. Shifts and crypt between them.
Yeah, they do not get put up well. Okay, so go through this. Is the steel rule straight? Is it free of any of those kinks, dents, nicks? Is the steel rule readable? Can you see all the numbers on there? The ends free of wear and appear to be square to the scale edge. Validate the accuracy of the scales from the reference end. So what I want to make sure is when I'm looking at this, is it going in the right direction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if it's not, then you'll pull the scale out, flip it around, and put it in, or you can flip it around and see it the other way. Best way to read it is to be reading it like this, though, with the scale kind of behind it. You can cut out a little cutout in there, as you can see the depth of that. So this way, let's just say I'm checking the depth of the slot. Here's how I'll use this. I'll bring it down, check the slot, tighten it up, and then measure it. Should be half inch. If everything is correct, it is. All right, move on. Okay, so Lee, go to that next slide. Okay, we are going to calibrate it like this, or part of our field check. So I'm going to get you some gauge blocks, either 1, 2s, or 3s, and then we're going to check it down to make sure that you can see your 1, 2, or 3. Okay, using your granite table, you're going to set your gauge block. Remember, the shiniest sides are the sides that are gonna go down and up. You're going to loosen the thumb screw on it, bring it all the way down, make sure that it's square. You go slide this up and down. When it bottoms out at the granite table, you're gonna tighten it up, and then you're going to look at it and make sure, you should be able to read it at the 1 inch mark, 2 inch mark, or 3 inch mark, depending on what you have. You should also be able to see it on the other side. So you should have something that looks similar to this, either this way or the other way. Anybody have one that is incorrect? Everybody good? Cool. Okay, so next we're going to take the thickness gauges or feeler gauges. Just take a look at them. Unscrew this little thumb screw. There's a little thing for your little detent kind of area for your finger. Push them out like this. Don't unscrew that all the way, they will come out. It would be hard to make that happen, but you don't try. There is one of those that is super thick, 200 thousandths thick. I mean, it's a beast. Probably the thing that I don't like about this set is the fact that they're so rigid that you can't. I mean, if you need to make 300 thousandths, you have to take them apart because you can't see how they're going to be wedged at an angle. So if you've got to measure something that where they're at the extents like that, that will create a taper. So it'd be 300 here, but it would just get larger as you go. So in that case, you would have to take them out. But you want to try to do your best to keep them in. You also want to try to use the least amount of feeler gauges as possible. You can make 300 with smaller amounts of them. So take a look at them visually. They go 200, then I think you got 1 thou and a half, 2 thou, 3. Look at the thou and a half one though. So that's 0.0015. That baby's a razor blade. Okay, so pay attention to that. That will cut you. So just be cautious there.
It is like tinfoil.
Yeah, it is like tinfoil. But they're a real nice set. They are, but they're almost too bulky for me. I mean, I like chunky stuff. Like I like something that I'm not going to destroy real easily. But these I would almost say for me would be like too heavy duty. So just take a look and make sure that all of them are good. Okay. Now, what is a way that we can validate that these are the correct sizes? What's that? Yeah. So we did calipers yesterday, right? Why don't you go ahead and grab a set of calipers, inch calipers or metric calipers, whatever you want. I mean, I grabbed inches with me. I want you to go ahead and take and measure all of these and just verify the thickness on these. Normally I'd say grab a micrometer, but we're really not at micrometers yet. So go grab yourselves a caliper, a 6-inch caliper, standard, and let's take a look at the measurement on these just to verify that they're the right ones.
We have a set like this at work, set for about a foot long.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
2 bucks.
Y'all do a lot of shimming and feeler gauge type stuff?
We have to shim knife blades.
Oh, yeah.
They're like lawnmowers.
Yeah.
We get them between 6 and 8. And we have grinders that they use the green grind.
Yeah.
Those are about 8,000.
never seen a set with a 200 on it.
It's a beast. It's
I want to say it.
it's like a freaking gauge block, man.
It is a gauge block.
It is a gauge block. Yeah, I mean,
Unreal.
you know, and if you're using that, that makes total sense.
I mean,
you
it
know?
does. I like it with the 1.5 represented.
Yeah, give it some stability
Yeah,
right
that's
next
not
to it.
good.
Yeah,
This guy
stand
at
next to
work
your big brother.
uses- This guy at my work uses like the 100 dial on it for the lathe.
For like touching off.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see that.
I use a 10 at work.
Yeah, a lot of people. That's it. That's
I like 10. That's like my go-to.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. A lot of people, when they're touching off on the lathe, especially on Z, will use a feeler gauge of a known value. Like they always have a 10,000 feeler gauge in there or a 10,000 piece of shim stock.
So is that basically the same as like that paper trick?
It's
Exactly.
the exact same thing, except the paper is
Except you know
3,000.
exactly what you're.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing about paper is it's susceptible to being wet. So if you got coolant in your machine and you take that paper, you know, it could get kind of muddy before you even get there. I would prefer to not do anything, because if you do that, you're gonna have to come in and touch off the front of the part, then comp it by, or move in by 10, 3, 5, 100, whatever it might happen to be, then set 0. I like to just come up, touch the front of the part 0 set. That's
See,
my
one of
preference.
ours, it may not be the front you're touching off of. You may be 400 out back.
Oh,
So you
okay,
have to touch, move your 10, and then.
then you're
So you
400.
have to know your face.
Yeah.
Exact, and then move.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it depends on where 0 is at. Yeah, it depends on where your 0 is at, so. Okay, so go through those, check every one of those and make sure thickness is accurate to what it says on your, caliper. So far, so good? Okay, anybody have one that's not right? Everybody feeling okay with using those? It should, if anything, it should just help you verify the numbers that you're seeing on there. So if you grab a, 5,000 shim, you should see 5,000s on the dial. So 5 marks over on that dial on your dial caliper. So if you're a 135, don't be afraid to help somebody who is a 101 who's sitting close to you. Alright, let's look at that next. Screw pitch gauges are next.
I got a stair makes a small set too.
Yeah,
That's
they
1
may.
through 100.
Oh, okay.
I think it's 1 through 100. Maybe 1 through 80. I've got it at my desk. I like it a lot. It's like the short set.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
I like
Short
those.
set. I've got a Craftsman set I've
And
literally had since I was
They're
13.
small enough you can bend them around still. They're not so
Right.
rigid.
Alright, you wanna do pitch gauges?
Sure.
Bullet
I haven't
things.
used one of these since you must have seen it.
Right. Alright, we'll let them finish up on the, shims. Everybody's verifying everything.
Jesus
Easily
Christ.
Christ.
I don't know if he has anything to do with that.
Those are $120 for this whole.
That, I don't think that's bad.
That's not bad at all.
I don't
Really.
think, I
For a
think
good
that's
set.
worth it, man.
That's a
Man,
big set, really.
It's a solid set. You could hurt somebody with that set.
At 200, I mean, you could probably just knock somebody over the head with it.
Yeah, I mean, just think, man, if you smack somebody with the 200, they feel it. It's not something that we should do. It probably shouldn't be a thing that I first.
I mean, it's a
thought
pry
of,
bar in
but-
itself.
It's a pry bar in itself, it's true.
I mean, if I learned anything in the Air Force, you can always throw your blueprints and technical data at somebody if they're screwing up.
There you go. That works. So yeah, something with a little bit of weight to it. Don't forget, I think today is ice cream, 11 to 1.
Yeah.
Somewhere, we'll be out of class during that time. So, yeah, I probably will go do that. I'm not sure where it's at.
Eat something.
All right.
I'll be fast asleep.
Yater Lobby. Does everybody know where the Yater Lobby is? Judging by the no movement, I assume no. You guys know where the
That's kinda
library
right,
is?
yeah.
Okay, that's,
Did they move the cafeteria over? I don't know, I heard they were gonna move it.
I don't think
No.
that's ever gonna happen.
that would be hard. So the cafeteria is in sculpture, way over there, kind of half pipe looking, quarter pipe looking building. So the Yater lobby is gonna be where the library is, or if you came in and did testing, so the testing center, you probably came through that area. So right around in there. It'll be the place where all the ice cream is at. And so, pretty centrally located on campus though, so it should be easy to find. There should be, I would suspect that there's probably signage and some other things out there that helps direct you to it.
Follow the guys going first.
Follow the guys going for ice cream, absolutely. If you see people that look like they're probably not normally over there, they're probably going for ice cream, follow them. Those are the people that you should do.
If they're coming from this building, they're going for ice cream.
Definitely. We are creatures of habit for sure. It's so funny, like I'll have students, like if I needed you to go to the library, you'd be like, what? Like, because you'll end up being so used to going in this building that Mikhail would just have a panic attack if I said, hey, go over to the library and go pick me up a Motor Trend magazine. He'd be like, no, I will buy you one somewhere else, but I'm not going over there. But I mean, it's just kind of, and I think that happens everywhere. So where you work, where you go, the things you do, I mean, we're just kind of naturally creatures of habit in the way that we do. Like I spend 90% of my time in this building. I rarely go to another building. I don't really have much purpose to do it. And so I would encourage you to do this. On a time when you've got a gap between classes or something, walk the entire campus, see all the things that are out there. There is some really cool stuff. When I first got hired here 9 years ago, I just walked the whole place and just like went into places that I probably shouldn't have went to and was like, what's over here, you know? Art department is huge, way over on the other side of the building.
That might work.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great example. Maxion is a city in itself that you're just trying to figure out where it's at. Honeywell, you probably don't get that option to just wander
There's
everywhere.
23 buildings in the city. now,
Exactly.
so-
Yeah. So you're having a little bit harder time.
There's more than that now, but yeah, the last one, they've now moved over to 23.
Have you been to some of the other ones?
No.
Yeah, kind of stay in your zone, right? You just,
Well, I mean, I had nothing to do over there,
Yeah.
but like, I've been in building 1, building 2, and building 3.
Yeah.
And they're all connected. I haven't been in all of them, but like, there's so many places in it. We'll have to pull a picture of it so you can see.
yeah.
Cause it's massive.
Yeah, that is a.
I
Just
I
the
drove by
single
like the
campus.
outside of it once when I was passing through Kansas City, and I was like, whoa.
And there's one building on campus that you actually haven't even hired clearance to get into.
Really?
Building 4. Nobody knows what goes on there.
I mean, nothing.
They build trailers,
Right,
is what we tell everybody, but we really don't know.
And
All right.
digital TVs.
Yeah.
Trailers for news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody come out with good dimensions on everything that they had there for feeler gauges. Okay. All right. I'm gonna turn over to Clint. I'm gonna be your button pusher.
Alright, we're gonna do the screw pitch gauge field check. Same thing, check your locks, make sure they lock down tight. Tell me which one we're looking at here. All the little ridges. Are the bleach free, king stents, is the size designation readable? Read them, all of them good. The teeth free of wear and appear to be consistently shaped. And validate the accuracy of the thread profile from crest to crest. I got a thread.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab, I got a couple of bolts here,
Okay.
screws and bolts, and you can show them exactly how they go in. I think my guess is this is metric. This one might be metric too. I like that one's pretty standard.
13.
Yeah, show them how they go in there.
Those numbers are tiny.
Yeah, probably brand new. Probably
Yeah,
never been
they're all
touched
stuck
before. Yeah.
Maybe one of them.
Yeah, I guess Maxion's gonna keep me home for a while. They gave me keys, so.
Maybe I can order.
Or maybe they're going to change the locks, and that's just your sign to, hey, my key doesn't fit anymore. Well, we wanted to talk to you about that and figured this would be a good segue. You don't work here anymore, and you haven't since last Wednesday. So
You're not getting paid for all that.
yeah, sorry.
So this is gonna be a 16 on this bolt. You hold it up there in the light, it should fit perfectly on all your ridges. Just pass this one around.
So it's a 16.
Yep.
Okay. So grab your 16-inch pitch gauge.
16 probably.
Yeah, probably a 3/8/16. Make sure that your 16 fits in those grooves. I think there's a couple metric and a couple standard. One thing to remember on those when creating threads on like the lathe or even thread milling, just because the thread pitch gauge goes all the way down into it does not mean that you have made it to the minor diameter yet. Okay, so that is just stamped. All that is for you to be able to visually see that it's the right threads per inch or the proper pitch. It is not meant to be a thread depth gauge. I've had oftentimes students are like, I must be right because I can get it all the way down into it. That definitely tells you that you're close. You've got to use a pitch gauge, a go no go gauge, thread wires, some other thing to verify what your threads are.
I hated using thread wires because we'd always make really tiny screws and you end up dropping all the wires into the scrap bin. You have to dig through it to try and find it.
Yeah. So on thread wires, what I do is I take two, wrap a piece of masking tape around it, bring it out, put a single on the other one. So I've got two on one side of the tape, one on the other side of the tape. Set them in there, and then that way, if one drops, it's connected. You know, it's kind of a tether between the two.
Can you thread mill on a manual mill?
I guess when you're using the quill feed, I guess if you could match everything up perfectly, but you really couldn't because you couldn't interpolate. You know, you couldn't do the circle.
Will you have a mill that has
like a Veritrack?
Well, the head rotates.
Like oscillates like this way?
Yeah.
Okay. So then maybe there. Yeah.
It's a really, really, really old Milwaukee.
Yeah, you've got to have, so when thread milling, you got your thread mill spinning with the pitch, and then it's either going from the bottom up or the top down, creating the thread on the outside or the inside. So typically on an internal thread, your thread mill is going to go down in the middle. It's going to come out and it's going to thread mill up. On external, it's going to start at the top and thread mill down to make right-handed threads.
I mean, this manual mill, they said is it's basically like a CNC, but like from way back then.
Okay. And it's possible that you could do it on there.
I haven't used that manual mill yet because ours are nothing really like it.
Right.
But a lot of the other die technicians and stuff, when they come over, they almost prefer to use that one.
Right.
So I kind of want to sometimes start playing around with it.
There's a couple of really cool semi-programmable machines out there that are manual machines, and they're pretty unique. They're pretty cool.
Those other ones end up being 20s. So.
Oh, okay.
Look it up.
I'm gonna move on.
I didn't know there was a bigger set. Oh, that's a measure set. A measurement standard. 020.
And then we also have this one machine where I don't know, it just it only cuts like this.
Like surface grinder?
Planer.
Planer, yeah. Don't know how to use that either.
So planer, you ever use a wood planer? Basically the same
Pretty
thing.
easy.
Yeah. Did you ever? So at Gardner Denver, they've got planers or scrapers. Sometimes they're called scrapers. And so all it does is just runs this.
Mainly just for slotting.
No, so like at Gardner, they use it for profiling too. Sometimes they would put, sometimes it'll spin, and it might have a profile in the shape of on the blade. Other times it'll stay stationary and just scrape across it. But a lot of times it's used for keyways, so keyways and slotting. But it wouldn't have to. You could use it for. I guess you could kind of use it like a gear hob if you had a straight gear. But yeah, I think there's several. You got to have the right application for it. I mean, for us, we would maybe use it for one thing, and that would be it. Just as a demonstration. Okay. Why don't you have them do some?
Some depth mic stuff.
Yeah.
Depth gauge.
Yeah, depth gauge stuff. Have them measure those slots and some steps, and we'll see where they're at.
Okay. So, with your depth gauge, go ahead and measure the depth of this hole here.
This is a blind hole. Probably have them do some of those steps there too. And then they can also measure some of the widths of those grooves with those.
Yeah.
That way it should be able to get a couple different,
Right.
everything except for the thread pitch gauges. All right, what'd you get for your, okay, so write down on your whiteboard what you got for your depth of your blind hole. This is worth 50,000 non-credit bonus points.
There's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those. Make it a decimal form if you would, please.
It's the nearest now.
So the accuracy of those, of that depth gauge is just about 15 thousandths on there. So you need to be within 15 thousandths on there. All right, if everybody's got it, if we haven't seen it, let's see it. Okay. Yep. I've seen a couple.
Put that in decimal.
Yes. That's shallower than I thought it would be, but it might be.
There's one of these that I had the other day. It's got some traction on the bottom of the hole.
Okay. Yep. Chance, what you got yours? Probably deeper than that. I'll come up here and look at it.
Once y'all get that, let's do this biggest step right here, from the top face in here.
Okay. So you're in there. You are in the spot. Type this thing out. So on that hinge.
Go ahead and put it as a decimal as well.
There's our hinge. So every one of these is 30 seconds. So that mark right there is 16/37. So it'd be a half inch. So you just want to count the 30 seconds, and then you want to divide it down to be lowest possible form in decimal, preferably. We want to talk about everything that we do in a 3-place decimal form.
I'm blind.
You got it.
Yeah.
That way. Yeah.
I guess we go.
That's right. That's right. Yep. William, what you got? Still working on it?
Yeah.
Ask that kid next to you to help you. He knows what he's doing.
Does he?
Don't do it for him. Just help him.
You already have him do that for the slot, didn't you? Earlier.
Yeah, I think we did that for this one earlier. overall thickness. Just run it down through one of those holes or on the step.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Ian, what do you get? Did you get it? Perfect.
Once y'all get that one, say you can do the overall thickness through one of your holes for one of your slots either way.
Yeah. So just put it down on the grand table flat. Yep. And just go all the way down through there.
You want to use the thickness of
Yeah, full thickness of the block, just like Desiree's doing. Yep.
Good.
Chance, what do you got for the full thickness of the block? Perfect.
Do through like flat.
See, I'm thinking about putting these in the toolkits, just so
Is
they
that-
can do. This
Yep.
one is the one I'm thinking about doing.
That's this one here in the hand, right?
I'm surprised it's that short, but double check it with your calipers and make sure that that's correct on there. I mean, you might have a block that's shorter, but most of
Typically
them.
not in this case. Did you get it? Yeah, right on.
So this one comes with a little bit of rod, or just like a rod, so like
Oh, so it
small.
goes in here?
So like for like this one, we do that. So you just replace that out of it and you slip that in there. It's okay. It's kind of cool.
Only about 12 thousandths more.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, that's odd.
Everybody got that one?
If you feel good about that, then have them switch
Yeah.
to the feeler gauges and do the slots.
Alright, we'll go to the feeler gauges now. Back to them. And measure. Go for the thinnest slot, the little one there.
It's the narrowest slot. Yep, the 300 on this one. I think they're one. It should be 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 3, and 2. Is that the 100?
Yeah, it's 100. 75 is loose. That's not 75, it's like 10.
Stack it up. Is that one of theirs or is that one? That's one of theirs.
Yeah.
Usually theirs are pretty close.
I don't think these things quite on it.
I mean, you could always do it
I
with
can try.
smaller ones.
Yeah, that's true. I do. Okay, yeah. 100%. Not 75 again. It's like 90.
And then the next one bigger.
Actually, that's pretty good. It's probably right around 95-ish. 95, maybe around 96.
Got it.
Got it?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Just go ahead and measure all of them once you get it.
Are you sure
Just
about
going through.
that? That seems right. Yeah. Yeah, because the other one was almost an inch. Yeah. Yeah, so just give us Did you tell them to go ahead and do all three of them?
Yeah.
Go ahead and do all three of them, and then list them out 1, 2, and 3 on there.
The second one's gonna be kind of fun. This one we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty close. Is that it?
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to. So I think you got them right. I think you've labeled them wrong. I'm gonna come back there.
So you're on the right track. So then this one, same thing. Just little drop. Decimal under an inch. That makes sense.
Aren't as bad today. They are sticky.
Check number 2.
The middle one?
You're not sure. If you are.
All right.
On that?
For the middle one? For that?
Just yes.
No, that was.
Yeah, try again. Check number 2. You're close. Good. Your number 2 is probably just a little bigger, but you're pretty close. two's still a little bigger. Moving the wrong way. Get close. If there's an odd number gauge in between there, you can move it to the side without taking them apart, just to stack them together to get a closer measurement.
We are nailing it on time today, so I want to take just a couple seconds before we move on. I think we're going to go ahead and move into the next module. These two things that I gave you here, this is kind of just a blown out section of it. 3/16 is equal to 187.5 thousandths. 3 divided by 16 will give you the decimal form of it. Okay, so when you're counting out on your scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16, 7, 16, 8, 16, 9, 16, whatever it might happen to be. 9 divided by 16 will tell you that it's 562 thousandths. These charts are super beneficial. These tools and rules that I gave you, starting on about page 66, there is a ton of conversion information for decimal, equivalents, drill sizes, letters and numbers, tap sizes, metric conversions, feet and feet for drills, depths of threads, just a real ton of info on there. So don't be afraid to take a look in those books. As well as there's a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about in here. This book is different than what we see on here called the flip book. The flip book is the digital resource in there. So, okay, let's go ahead.
Going into 4.
Let's do 4. We'll just,
Be much bigger. Probably smaller, if anything.
I don't know. Let's see. Can't get back over there.
I'm going to put away tools for 3.
Yeah, go ahead and put your stuff away for 3. We're gonna move on to 4.
You still need this, huh?
You will, yeah, keep the block.
And keep your gauge block probably if you got one.
Yeah, keep your gauge block. I don't think you'll need the caliper. I don't know. We're gonna assume no. Sometimes I cannot get this thing.
To go to sleep mode very often.
I don't know. It loses. It won't let the. There it is.
You gotta go to the left of that screen and the right.
Yeah, sometimes.
So
But earlier I was over there and I could just see it sitting there. I was like,
Weird.
come on, man.
Computer stuff.
I know. All right, so I said I was going to have you do 4 by yourself. We'll do 4. We'll split up 4,
Okay.
and then that way, if we can get 3 and 4 knocked out today,
We could probably knock out 5 tomorrow. Just
I won't be
have them all out.
surprised. Yeah.
New caliper in here.
I would think micrometers would be fast.
I don't know. Is that what this is?
Well, this is combination square. I believe.
Okay.
It's an extra anyway. Which
I'll slip
I don't
past.
remember ever using a combination square.
Angle measurement. Yeah, we're going to start with the protractor. Yeah, so all angle measurements is what we're going to be looking at. So yeah, combination square and such is what we'll be using.
Man, security's insane.
That is the first time I've ever seen that.
That's weird. It didn't do it earlier in the week.
No, and yesterday I took and I I went and scanned a bunch of PDFs to put into my metrology class. Scanned them and then emailed them to me, and then whenever time I open them, it says, "Are you sure you want to open this?" I'm like, yeah. It says, "You need to convert this." I'm like, "Well, it's never asked me those things before." So I don't know.
They must change something.
Ever
Yeah.
seen flexible filament?
Flexible filament.
It's TPU.
I'd say you print
Supposedly-
trash, but I bought it for about a couple months ago. So.
Yeah.
See, my Duramax had 325,000 on it. She's like, it's getting up there. I love that truck. I don't get rid of it.
Right.
And then I found a 15 F250 in Yuma, Oklahoma.
Okay.
5-hour drive.
I want to get a Toyota Tacoma.
Yeah, I like those. You like them?
That's not a real truck.
Yeah.
They're a little small.
Here, hand me my phone. I've never thought I'd buy a Ford, but I've got some friends that I work with that have this motor, this 670, so I absolutely love it. So I was like, we'll take a chance. It's just like $30,000. No big deal.
Right.
What's the worst that can happen?
Right now, you should be able to make your money back.
I got a really sweet deal on it. I mean, hell, it's got 4 brand new wheels and tires on it.
Oh, it's nice.
It is nice.
That was a drive.
Yeah, that's sharp looking truck.
And it just sits.
Right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to 4. This is gonna be all about angle measurements, and so we'll just kind of go back and forth with doing this one. This one should be your protractors and your combination square. So we'll wait, we'll get started, and then we'll go grab all of our tools. So here is a one style of protractor. So this is the round head protractor. You can get them in a round head or a square design. I don't know that I have a preference one or the other. You have one in your toolkits, and it is probably a round head like this. Then we'll grab those in the back. The round head is cool because you don't have to worry about those square edges. The good thing about the square or rectangle head is you can use it because you can set it on that side to get your angle measurements and stuff. So it's got some advantages to it. But I think you probably have in your toolkit probably one or the other in there. Let's go ahead and flip over to the next. Okay, so here is a bevel protractor. Like my bevel protractor reads in degrees, minutes, and seconds, and it goes really small, so it's got a magnifying glass attached to it here. This is a miter protractor that Stair makes, and then another different one. So just for doing angles on there. And so here's your square head for your protractor. So you got double graduations, you got your blade, your lock nut, protractor head. All of them are going to be pretty similar in their shape, design, and usage.
It's also a digital one.
Yeah,
That's totally cheating.
that's totally cheating.
Like-
Yeah, so I don't know. I
For as little as you use it, do you really need a digital?
right. Surely you can
Yeah.
see it's incremented by the angle. Sure, there's no math to do. You just look at it and see what it
You
says.
just read
So,
it.
yeah, you just read it. There's like I can get on board with the digital mic because there's a little bit of work to it. But like a protractor, it is literally what it says.
Like, you're not making that any faster.
Right. Yeah. I think you're just showing off. Then I think.
Like,
is
hey,
all
I got money.
Yeah. So, okay, so the square head has 4 working edges. The round head is not going to have as many. But you're going to find yourself kind of in 2 positions typically using it. So, all right, let's move on. All of the ones that we have are double graduation, 0 to 180, so you can come either way from it. Satin chrome finish, so that way it's less likely to rust. And then they have the rectangle heads on them.
It's probably still on that thing.
Yeah, It's a lot of that. So one kind of cool thing about some of them, and so this is pretty similar to what we have right now, except for it might have the square head or might have the round head. That's in your toolkits. This blade stays fixed where it's at. This one, kind of double combo on here. So not only is it reading angles in both directions, but you can also use it as a depth gauge in there. So a little bit of combo on there. This one has a little scriber point on the end or a spot where if you need to pivot from something, push it down into it, it stays in position. I'm not sure that I would ever use that or have ever had a need where I needed to use that. But it is an option in case that's something that you do. This is a combination square set. This dude has a ton of stuff. And from what they told me when I was taking this class, this is Starrett's #1 selling product. It makes sense. I've got one of these in a Starrett. I don't have a ton of Starrett stuff. I've got a lot of Mitsui stuff. There is a ton of stuff going on in here. There is a scriber that comes out of the end. Pull it out. Not kill somebody, but you can hurt somebody. It's got 2 levels on it, here and then right here. Now, when you're using that level, for machining, you really got to be cautious because what you don't ever want to do is like when you go to the mill, you don't ever want to level your part up because that only works if everything else is completely level. Your machine could be sitting like this, and if you put your part in there level, you're gonna be milling an angle on it. So it's got to be square to the machine, not to the world. Okay, so if all of your machines are square to the world, then it would work. Chances are they will not be square to the world. Even your CNC machines are going to have some variation on them, so you always want to be square to the machine. So I always say it like this: a CNC machine or a manual machine can hang on the wall, still perform its same functions as long as it's square and straight, so it won't twist. But it does not. It can be tilted back, forward, this way, this way. Your part has to be square to that working environment, not to anything else, okay? This, we're gonna see, this has a ton of stuff. So we've got square here. We've got, I think, a 45-degree here. We've got a lock bolt on there. This is called the square head. This is your protractor head. It can be a little tricky. It goes more, it reads double angles, but it really only kind of goes one direction. And then this is your center head. It also has a lock bolt. This has a lock bolt as well. Center head would be for finding the center of round stock. If you're going to maybe drill a hole in the round stock or do some kind of punch work on the end of it, or if you like, so you're gonna run a long shaft between centers and you center it over a drill press, this will be the place where you put your centers in, and then bring it over to the lathe afterwards. So I find this is super beneficial. This scale is listed out probably 30 seconds and 64ths, and then if it's 5R, then it's got 50ths and 100ths on the other side. So, all right, go ahead. So your blade on there has a groove in the middle. Everything tracks down through that blade, so you want to make sure that blade's clean. Putting those things together and take them apart, they've got a little hook inside of them that grabs. Sometimes you can look in there and like you take 50 tries to get it. Other times you can just push it up, slide it in, you're good to go, you look like a pro. You can get blades in all kinds of different styles and variations. This is the square head. It's got, like I said, the scriber, the level, and then 90 degrees and 45 degrees on it. Scriber is super duper sharp, man. It's awesome.
Really hard to get out of there.
It is tight in there, man.
In there.
Mine is 25 years old. It is still that tight to get it in and out of there, man.
It's actually really small.
Yeah. I mean, you could poke somebody's eye out.
Like, that's a shame.
You have to try it. And they would have to be soft skinned. They'd have to be weak. So
I have little hands, like big
yeah.
hands, you're not getting much.
Yeah. Let's just try not to kill anybody. Yeah.
Hey, do you mind if we cut up some of your stock out there?
No? Go ahead.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Like, are you cutting just to saw or cutting to use it for something?
No, we're just cutting to get out of the class and show them how to use the saw.
Oh, okay.
So we're.
Yeah. That's great.
Stir crazy right now.
I understand. Yeah, that's,
Get everybody logged in.
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, go for it. Okay, protractor head. So you got double reading, but you're gonna see there's one way that it works really well and one way that it doesn't. It's got the lock on it. It's got the little hook inside of it too, and it's got the level on it. These are super sturdy. They're cast iron bodies on all the pieces of this, and they're super sturdy. They're really, really nice.
I used one last week to, like, put my part in a vise. I just stuck one of those on top, and then it put me at the angle that I needed to
Right.
mill at.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a lot easier than using the sign bar.
Yes.
Maybe
Much
not
easier.
as accurate, but.
Definitely not as accurate. No, I mean, I think that you could probably be within a couple degrees on
Oh, yeah.
this. And if you're just doing a clearance angle, then totally fine. If
I
you're
was just doing some chamfers.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're just
if
doing
you're
chambers, that's perfect for something like that. Yeah, just really quick, easy way to go. Just the center head, still same lock device on there and still the same little hook that goes on the end.
Lots of words.
What's that?
Lots of words.
Yeah, just go on. I think we've covered most of those things. Going. This is the hook that goes on there. If you tighten this thing down too much, you will bust this hook off. So be real cautious with those. That's probably the one thing that you could break. Other than that, they're pretty robust. You're not gonna do much stuff with it. Like we talked about, the sharp point for the scribe, the glass vial. Boy, I'm telling you, you would have to be trying to break that thing. You know, I'm not sure that you look like you might have broke one. But yeah, I mean it's pretty protected. If you bust it, it would be rare for you to break something like that. Again, rust prevention. While Clint's he's gonna go through those slides. Go ahead and grab the combination square set, all the pieces to the combination square,
It's all in one drawer.
all in one drawer, and then grab a protractor.
All in the same
So
drawer.
yeah, you'll need basically one of everything in that drawer.
Give me some money.
Are you playing with stocks in class?
Totally.
I kind of appreciate that.
The pros and cons of recording classes is that you can see what everybody on the front row is doing. So, because the way the camera is, so yeah, I can see all your
I've been
stock.
watching.
I can see all your stock info there.
I just can't tell what it is, but if you're making money, I want to know.
Yeah.
I missed the Shiba coin. It's
GameStop?
going nowhere. It's only worth like
It's supposed to
A million
be going into the thousands.
On what?
A bunch of like
Shiba coin.
Hedge
I
fund
bought
Oh.
7 million shares for $60.
bought like
Wow.
a lot more than what they
And
were
I'm currently
supposed to.
down like $4.
Yeah, I
And they're
think
gonna
short
be
it.
getting
I could probably make
like margin calls and stuff by the FBI and all that very soon.
But I mean, if it makes it to
So
a
I put
cent,
400
I'm
into it
on
yesterday. That's the only reason.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to lose all of it.
When COVID first kicked off, I got into some penny stocks on like all these. Hey, we're gonna make a vaccine. I made like $4 grand and got out of there.
Yeah.
A week.
You got to know when to get out.
Don,
of
you know
stuff like
Don?
that. Yeah.
That Dogecoin crap.
Yeah.
He made $40,000 off of
Holy
it.
crap.
Really?
It's tax
Not even
different
kidding.
though. Crypto's tax
It
different.
is tax different, yeah.
I won't mess
And
with
then
it.
yesterday, he made 5,000 off of GameStop.
Somebody's doing something
Can
right.
you do my stocks?
What?
Can you do my stocks?
How far you wanna go here?
I made 50 last 5
Field
minutes.
check.
See what that next slide looks like.
Another field check.
Let's just go ahead and do. Is it combination? It must be protractor field check first.
Yeah,
And then-
protractor,
yeah,
then
we'll
it
do
goes through.
protractor. All right, everybody got all your parts and pieces that you need. Combination square set has 4 pieces for it, and then your protractor. We'll go through the protractor first. I'll go through the protractor, and then Clint can go through the.
Hey, it's wanting you to
combination
check it with a precision square.
with a precision square.
Yeah, I guess a gauge box would probably work
I
with
think
it.
a gauge block would work. Yeah, some of them have the 1, 2s, and
Ones-
some
they've all
got
got
the 2s and
something.
3s. Yeah, so they would even be even better.
Somewhere.
I've got a square here, and the
That's
master
how much I'm
calibration
telling you.
kit But, yeah, probably oughta. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get 10 of those calibration kits. That way everybody's got a calibration kit to go with their stuff.
That
they
would
do.
make sense.
Yeah.
That's probably the cheaper way to go anyway.
That's probably it, yeah.
It's been steadily folding it too. So.
Okay, so let's do a field check for our protractor. Is it free of nicks, dings, dents, curls, breaks, boomeranging, anything that might happen to be on it? Does it function, does it move?
It's like rusted or something, I don't know.
Got a little stuff on, a little bit of wear. Stand by. I'm not sure why that's like that. Yeah, it's a little scuffed up on there.
Is yours on this part?
No, hers on the other part. So does it spin? Is it dinged, broken? Can you lock down the nut on there and make sure that it's right?
And drop test it.
If you have a gauge block, and everybody has at least 1, 2, or 3 on the gauge block, I want you to bring it in here, and I want you to calibrate it or field check calibrate it like this. So find that corner, okay, set it in like that. So I've got it just stuck in the corner. Similar to what this is, so you're gonna set your gauge block in the corner right there. It should then be reading at 90 degrees.
That's pretty hot.
Oh, I guess you need a gauge bulb.
What's that?
Let's go with this.
Yeah, it's pretty hot, yeah. Yeah, you could
That's
use,
90 degree.
yeah, that's 90 degree too. Yes, yeah, you could use your square heads
Do
too.
you all have AC?
Oh yeah. I wear a hoodie every night.
I'm so ready for winter. There's no AC to wear.
Where are you
I can
working?
find it.
Honeywell.
Champion is clearly not like
I
this.
have to go to my office
About
whenever I want
95
AC.
degrees.
After Gardner Denver,
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
I was like on average 122, 123 in the summer in there.
Oh god, that's worse than mine.
Yeah,
Mine,
Gardner Denver sucks. The bathroom's the only air conditioned place on the shop floor, and that place.
They were hot.
Oh yeah, that place is busy.
I can remember, so they still have that digital thermometer that like when you walk in, you can see what the temperature is.
Yeah, I think they've moved it.
Like, why would you even have that? Why would you tell?
It really just pisses people off.
I know, I can remember walking in there one day and being like, 140, this day's gonna suck. And, so I worked at a different place, but we did a lot of work with Gardner Denver, and so I'd spend all my day there. But that's not the hottest place I've ever worked. I worked at Starline Brass.
Yeah.
And when I went home, no kidding, first day, I walk in, I'm dressed about like this, and the guys are like, tomorrow you can't wear that. And I'm like, a t-shirt and jeans, really? And they were dressed in work boots, the shortest booty shorts in the world, and sleeveless shirts. And I'm like,
Yeah, you didn't dare wear sleeves at Gardner Denver.
yeah.
Everything just sticks to you, and it's all cast iron for the most part.
Oh, it's
gross.
just mud on you. I went home at lunch, so we started at 6, we went to lunch at 11. I went home and I could wring the sweat out of my wallet. Like the dollars in my wallet were dripping. And so I came back in those same clothes the next day, and yeah, I found like some 9-year-old girl shorts, like the shortest shorts I could find, and everything sleeveless that I had. That was the only way you could do it.
Keep those 2 10-minute breaks where you can go to the break room.
Yeah.
It's not even worth going because it makes you
10
sick.
minutes is
Right. You just get in there and be like, time to go. Yeah.
Yeah, Gardner Denver's cool. They're like, oh, we'll give you 15 in the hot months, and we'll give you popsicles if we remember to unlock the freezer.
Right. Yeah, that does suck. You can also use this part of the combination square head to get your 90 degrees as well. Okay, so that's as far as everybody's come out 90 degrees. Everybody's looked good. Okay. So let's move into the field check for the combination square. I'll let you take that.
Okay. Looks like we're gonna start off with the blade. Check it over straight, no burrs, kinks. Can you read all your numbers? No wear, anything, should be good to go. Make sure your grooving is really clean, that's probably the most important part there. Validate the accuracy from each reference image.
So there's a hook rule in that master calibration kit. You can just show them that part of it. Another way to do it would be probably to take their 1-inch gauge block or their gauge block, set it down on the table. Yeah, just do that. So you could take like your 1-inch gauge block, let me see your lathe,
Yeah.
pull it out of there.
Just stand it up, set it aside.
So set it on your
Check both ends.
granite table, yeah, and check to make sure
It is
that's,
double-ended.
yep. You should be able to measure really 4 different ways on that thing.
Onto the protractor head is the head reference surfaces free of dings or burrs. Can the square blade easily be assembled into the protractor and moved through its range? So that I haven't done this forever.
Yeah, so here we're gonna slide that thing in there. You're gonna be looking for that little hook. So you wanna look down the end of it. You can see that hook. You can spin it if you are, depending on where you're at in the motion of it. If you pull it back, you can rotate it. That's gonna be really important that you can get that in there.
Can't see which side he's going.
You just rotate this back.
You're gonna, if you pull it back, you can spin it around, but that blade should slip in there. So don't unscrew it too much. You'll. It should, if it's loose, it's spring loaded, so you should be able to pull it back, rotate it around to get it into that spot. If you look down the end of it, you should be able to see the way that it hooks.
It's kind of weird.
Might come at it from the other way.
Yeah. Should see which one it's on.
Can't lift up high enough.
Are you saying you can't get it together?
Mine's pretty tight. I'm not gonna listen to it well.
Get yours together?
I got this one.
Oh, you're getting yours.
I just handed it to him. I was waiting.
Justin, you got yours. You got yours. Wyatt, you got yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot, that is great. Oh, not got it yet?
It is still trying to unscrew this.
So you don't really need to unscrew it much.
Okay.
Looking from this end, you can take, if you push it, you can rotate it around, so the hook is on this side.
I haven't heard mine just a little bit.
I'm just gonna slide it in there.
Okay.
Ours is pretty far down. Accuracy on everything. No. I mean, I've just got the end of that stuff, and I never.
And then it won't go down all the way yet, so one way to go, you gotta slide that. You got yours. You got yours. You guys get it? Everybody else got theirs a long time ago, yeah.
If you screw it up twice.
Does that make you stressed out?
It's-
Everybody's basically looking right at you.
But if you
See if you can get yours.
5 or 6 or 8 times.
Got the camera facing you. I'm just kidding. You're totally fine. You're totally fine.
Wait till Robert hits
So
crashes.
I'm gonna look down here. I'm gonna see where the head is. I'm gonna push it and so I can rotate it. So now the groove of it's at the bottom.
Does it crash?
That means it's
My friend that made 40,000, it was a 70,000 that he made, but it's crashed too, so he couldn't use it.
Everybody got theirs together?
Have you seen Dominic Ladd made that much money?
Yeah, at one time he did make 75,000 off of it, but he was at work or something and it like crashed and then he wasn't able to get it like out of the stock and then it reached 40,000 by then.
But he still got 40,000.
Right now I think he's like 50 something, so.
That never happened to me.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna try.
I mean, I'm a buy high, sell low kind of guy. You know,
I'm giving
not-
my money.
Yeah, exactly. I would be better, like, if I was gonna go buy a lottery ticket, I'd be better just like, hey, here's $5, man.
Yeah, I
Just
just don't
walk
want it
out, you know.
So once you got it together, tighten your blade lock bolt, loosen the turret, make sure it rotates good. It should rotate really easy. No catches, no burrs.
So they should be able to still do that with their gauge blocks.
Once you finish checking it out, go ahead and move it to 90 degrees, check its accuracy. Make sure you're good there.
So check it just like you did that protractor, use your gauge block, make sure that it's accurate to 90 degrees. And I think once you get it to that 90 degree spot, go ahead and tighten it up.
Yep.
So I think we're gonna use it to, I think we use it to calibrate the square head,
Right,
this
yeah.
part.
Might as well.
Cause you might as well.
Do it.
How do you rotate this?
Also, probably push this a little too far. It's gonna be a flat shoulder. That's pretty blade back so. No, really. If you're all the way up against that shoulder, it locks it.
So get that thing to 90 degrees and check it.
I don't actually got some crap on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of surface stuff.
Before we went up to Gateway, they did this huge NC3 training. Every tool that they had in the shop that had any kind of rust on it, they got rid of and bought all brand new stuff. I was like, oh my gosh.
I wish I had money.
So luckily they gave it out to like local high schools and tech centers and some other
Right,
stuff.
to scratch it.
Yeah.
See, we're still using gauges from like the old plant.
Oh, yeah, Bendix. Yeah.
Like, we get stuff all the time that has Bendix stamped on it.
Yeah. Gosh, that was a million years ago, man.
Like 100.
I was trying to find
I
a
guess
sheet
we're at 75.
of those online.
Yeah.
But was trying to find a cheaper one. but
We used to, so when we sold toolkits,
Yeah, my kit came with one. My other
yeah,
the
the
advanced kit.
advanced toolkit came with one, probably a phase 2.
And it's like it never came out of the box.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that you can utilize or not. But let me see if I can.
Wait, so we're able to buy these toolkits if we wanted to?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I mean, if you wanted to buy one, I can give you the list of everything that there is in it, and sell. You know, I just hand it to you and get you in contact with the people to buy it from. So yeah, it's not that you couldn't, but like we wouldn't sell it to you. And it'll be cheaper. So on the check sheet that you guys filled out, it was like whatever $1,200 or something like that. It's not that much. Those are the replacement costs for me to buy them. Yeah, I triple those prices sometimes because I'm trying to get you to not lose stuff. If you do lose something in your toolkit, so say you lose your channel locks, you're totally welcome to go to Harbor Freight or buy the equivalent of them somewhere else. You just need to replace it. So the channel locks can cost $8. I might have them on there for $24. I'm trying to discourage you from losing them is what I'm trying to do. Hey, there you go. Yeah, so John systematically loses scales and yeah, pretty much just scales. And so I think he's just now keeping them in
He
stock.
got up and walked away.
Yeah, he's got a subscription where they just send him a scale every 30 days. So
Yeah.
So did everybody's check out good?
The 6-inch one is actually almost double the price as the 12-inch.
really,
Yeah.
So dumb. Once you check that, go ahead and check your square head. Same way. Good check. Yeah, where you guys on there?
yeah, you should. So yeah, after you get that on there, you've checked it. Then you get your square head or your square head at 90 degrees. Slide that square head on there. You should be able to squeeze those babies together. Should see no light between them. So just like that picture shows. Looks like you can buy a average price or average quality set, a 4-piece combination square set for about $100.
That's
That's not bad.
Set?
Yeah, not the Starrett. I think the Starrett set is like $279 or something.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
What we had in those kits.
It was a Phoenix or a Phase 2 or something like that.
Everybody got that part done?
Mm.
Everybody should have theirs together like Clint's.
Got it? So once you're 90 degrees, you just slide your square head on.
Chance, flip it the other way so that the long side is on the long side of the protractor. So this one's a little easier, so you can look down and see where it goes. So once you put this guy and set it to 90 degrees, which one is going to 0 then? 90 degrees. Double check the end of this. Slide this quicker. Yep, you can see no light through there. Unlock this. Unlock these 2 things. Now all of this is locked down. I'll slide this up. I should, whenever I hold it up like that, should see no light through it. Since I know that this and this is 90 degrees, and then if I can push this in there, I know that this is at 90 degrees. So everybody should have something that looks like that. Everybody got something? pieces put together. Yeah, we got it. Stop. Justin, you got your gift. You got your gift. I think it's gonna. Clint, in just a second, is going to validate or field check the center head. This is Dicom. This is one of the kinds of Dicom that we have. It's just a layouting. And the way it works, if you ever play bingo, it's kind of a dauber. So what you do is just a light coat, a bluing on there. The lighter you go, the faster it dries. You should not have to really, you should be painting it on. Some of them have, they're like little paintbrush ones, but be really cautious. They stain really quick, and when you use the brush, they flick out, and it goes all over the table, all over yourself, and so that's already dry. If you just do it really light on there.
Thanks.
I think it smells good. I love it.
Like gas. You
Oh.
think gas smells good?
I think
Jet
it smells
fuel
good.
smells best.
Yeah, I could
Diesel's better.
smell that for a while. Smells good.
You can
Everybody's
taste it.
Everybody's getting high here.
It smells good.
You know,
Sharpie.
Yeah, Sharpies. When I was, no kidding, man, when I was in 7th grade,
oh
this
boy.
kid spray paint in a bag, and it's like an industrial arts room, you know? Spray painted a bag, and spray painted a bag, huffed it, and just boom, right in the middle of the class. When they rolled him over, he just has yellow all over in front of his mouth, and everybody's like, not surprised, you know? And it's burned in my memory. I was like, never ever be that guy, man. So, oh my gosh.
We had the complete opposite in our school. Instead of kids, doing normal things to try and get high, they were just doing stupid stuff like snorting pixie sticks.
Oh my gosh. That's just sugar coming the wrong way, you know? I mean, golly.
We got the same stuff.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's how it does. So it has you put the square head on, take everything off, put the square head on, and then make marks like, yeah, like 3 or 4 different, make sure that they come back to the center. Let's see, I'm gonna go, there you go. All right, Clint's gonna have you set yours up like this, so take everything apart, put just the center head on there. So you're going to use the scriber from the back of the square head.
It's in there.
It is in there. I'm going to so that we can actually have them do all of this, I'm going to take, what did I do with that bag? There's for you. Here's, I'm going to go grab a couple pieces of stock. And I'm going to let you guys diagram them up and actually do this instead of just seeing it.
can't find a way out there to get to it, y'all might have to.
Alright, everybody's got a piece of round stock. I'm gonna go grab a couple of Dicom pieces.
And then we had a check.
Alright, be really cautious with these. They will, like, don't squeeze the bottles. And I got some shop towels, or had some. Might put this underneath your stuff as you go, so I've given you all some of them, or some of you all Dicom. If you have Dicom, you need to use it and then pass it on. Nice. Yeah. Possibly. It's really just wiggling.
I had to really, really take a screw on that one up there and then push it in.
Anybody need
Anybody waiting on Dicom? Don't squeeze those things because I have had a student squeeze it and that little dauber end pop out and it just went everywhere and he's like, this is defective. I was like, not sure that's what's defective, but so be cautious on it. Smells good, doesn't it?
No, the mask is good.
Oh, the mask is good for once. Okay. So once it's dry, see what Clint did is he stuck his piece in there like this, and he scribed several lines, just kind of rotating it around. The idea is that they all come back to the center. Okay, so using your scribing around, you want to scribe towards it. Okay, so that way it's pushing it into the V.
We can eat you things. Super V? Oh, like across the line.
You didn't do it.
Describe it.
Hold over here, this.
I literally just showed you how to do it. It's tough to get out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Desiree, can you get that out for him? Can you get that scriber
I don't know
out?
what she's getting at.
Did you get your off out? Did you get your, yeah, they got theirs out.
Twisted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
twist
it's a lot
and pull.
easier if you twist.
Twist and pull.
Some of them are screwy, but
Yeah.
I've seen them
Jesus.
You lose the strap.
Yeah. Get it? Cool.
It's like a freaking prison ship.
It is. It's super. It's super sketchy and dangerous, man. I'm almost surprised that they sell them like that. Honestly, just
That's
some
cool
some
though,
kind
how
of.
it holds the well stuff.
It's great. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
All right, so did you do it?
So I think I'm
You're not gonna be able to get a straight line all the way across it like that. You have to move that blade out.
If I was second,
Are we short some?
I just asked how many had out.
I don't know. I just went and grabbed a
Grab them.
handful of them.
Get 'em all.
Like I said, those are not the only kind of Dicom that we have. Dicom's a company, so it's like saying Kleenex. So there's several different kinds of layout ink out there. So when you guys start scribing and doing layout in your 101 class next week, those are my preferred one to use, but that's not the only one to use out there.
Sharpie will do the same thing.
Sharpie will do the same thing. Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll use that.
Must be a good layout.
You're not
Nope, we have to use Sharpie.
really.
Which I mean, we don't do a lot of it, but I go and skimming jaws, pan them real quick and skim them.
Yeah.
That's the only real machine we do.
Pouring jaws.
If you guys make jaws, and I'm running the air tracks to aluminum jaws.
Right.
Most time it's a shoulder, no radius, no shoulder.
That guy, black market chips. Okay, everybody made a couple marks on there. All of them intersect in the same spot as they go around, right? Okay, so you have at least an X or a cross on there, depending on how you're looking. Okay. Let's look real quickly at just some of the features of the protractor itself. So we don't have to get it out. You can read it from either side. Okay, so either side of that is readable for angles 90 or larger. This would be for angles less than 90, but that's interchangeable. You're just reading what the actual angle says on there. So that's looks like 70 or 110. Here's one example of using it. Another example might be where you're putting an angle on something and then scribing it to do some cutting with it. Here is using this combination square for the square head, so just cutting some length, or just maybe you got some features that you're going to do. One of the things that I watch students do all the time is when you are a 101, you're really good about laying things out. So I would lay out everything that I did. So if I'm going to do 6 holes on a part, I would mark out where those 6 holes go, lay them out before I put them on. Then I would use my digital readout or my CNC machine, whatever, to do those operations. 101s are good about it. I think 102s think that they no longer have to do it anymore because they did it in 101, they no longer have to do it in 102. And I watch them put holes in the wrong spots all the time. One of the first things that I'll ask is, did you scribe it out? Did you lay it out? Did you know where that hole was going to go before you put that hole? Slot, valley, ledge, whatever it might happen to be. And 90% of the time the answer is no. Layout does take a little bit of extra time. Even if you, like Clint said, just take a Sharpie and just X where those holes are going to go, just to give you an idea. There's nothing worse than a hole that is just barely off. I would rather have the hole 3 inches out of the space of where it's supposed to be than right next to the hole, because then I have to bore it out, make a plug it, and then re-drill the hole back in the right spot. Then I've really added time to my part. So don't be afraid. I mean, layout is not just a 101 thing. Here's you doing a 45 degree. Here's measuring some heights. Using it as a square. Setting angles, measuring angles, scribing angles. Finding center, we just did that. You can also use that square or that center finder head as a square. It's 90 degrees. Like, this thing has like a billion uses. So remember, on our scale, If it's an 8 scale, there are going to be 8 graduations on there, leading up 1/8 quarter, 1/2 inch, and then the one that's not identified is 3/8. 16ths or 32nds typically is what you're going to have on them. So every one of those lines is a 32nd. Then they're varied as far as heights, so you can count out those, then reduce them, and then convert them to a decimal form. So almost everything that we talk about, we're going to be trying to talk about in decimal form. 64s, there's 64 increments on there. You're going to count them out. Then converting to decimals and fractions. This is some of the slides that we've seen before. Really, I would just get used to using things like the Machine Calc Pro in your toolkits. In Immersive, there is a little lesson on Machine Calc Pro. It's super simple. So if you have 5 and it's 5 millimeters, you just press 5 millimeters and then you hit enter, and it'll tell you it's 197 thousandths. So like conversions are really, really simple. Same thing with fractions. You can convert fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction. Degrees, minutes, seconds to decimal degrees. This tool, which I used to not really be very fond of, if you know how to use it, will make things move so much faster for you. So they're super beneficial for you to use. You should have a little book in your box, but you should also have an immersive lesson that goes over the Machine Calc Pro. It's the only, no, that's not true. When you go to take your NIMS test about halfway through the semester or maybe a little bit later, you could take a machinery handbook or that other book that you had. You can take a calculator. This is the calculator that will make every one of your answers easy in the NIMS test. But here's what you will not be able to do. You will not be able to come to class that day and go, hey, so how do I use this for the test? That will not work. There's just too many functions that show you in a matter of moments how to do it. Okay, so you want to make sure you're prepared for those tests.
There's also an app, but you can't use it for the.
Yeah. So if you want to use the app you do have to buy. It's $20. I've got it on my phone, but you can't take a phone to the testing center. So that really kind of screwed us when we were originally doing it. Because I was telling everybody before we had these in boxes, hey, just download the app and you can use that in the shop. You can use it around. It's great. I deleted the factory calculator on my iPhone and just used that. And then we go down to the testing center one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So we ended up buying it so that everybody would have them in their toolkit.
Those would have been nice to have.
They are super nice. Now they're about $75, but they're a good calculator to have. They really are. But it'll help you with fraction decimal conversions and all those things. Okay, we've probably covered all of that stuff. We got 10:15.
Yeah, we just went over all this.
Yeah, we literally just went over it.
These are the same pictures.
I think it's duplication.
I think so. It's identical.
Yeah. All right. Let's get out of that. Let's just see where we are. That's 4.
Yep.
We've got an hour, right?
Yep.
I think we can do it. All right. Put all those tools away. Grab. We're gonna go to micrometers next.
What is it?
We're gonna nail them all out today. I think there is a standard and metric micrometer that you're gonna need in there.
Can we get through it?
154.
That's a big one.
But we don't get through it. But if we do half of it today, half of it tomorrow.
And then they can knock out the test the rest of the class tomorrow.
Oh, we'll assign the test. We'll let them do the test tonight. That is not always true.
It's at least 75% true.
Yeah, but so there's 2 ways of doing questions. There's saying this is probably the right answer, or there's knowing what the right answer is. So you really want to make sure you know what the correct answer is. Yes, too many times. So on that, so in your, NC3 testing, if you fail it 3 times, there is no resetting. So you will be just done with it, so,
So don't do that.
no, so actually, if you fail it twice, you need to come talk to me or Clint, so we can double check some stuff, because there is not, like, when they told me when I was there this year, they were like, once third strikes, you're done, and you will just not be allowed to do it anymore, and I was like, that's
Create a new account.
hardcore. Yeah, I guess you could do that.
Yeah, change your name.
Yeah, change your name, witness protection program,
You get one
you know.
free name change before you gotta pay for it.
I guess, yeah, maybe, yeah, I guess, yeah, you could do that.
No, they don't, you're not good enough, just quit.
Yeah, you should just go work at Jiffy Lube. Nothing wrong with working at Jiffy Lube, work there, that's totally fine, I worked there.
Go be a welder.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't put him down that low.
I usually want to go to Walden.
Join the Air Force's camo again, it's the lowest of the low.
I got a kid in the Air Force. My son just started, welding, the welding class in the CTC in Clinton today, so he's,
Oh, the technicals,
leave that on the desk, on top of your, yeah.
they have pretty good instructor, I was, Marty Mitchell.
Is that who it is? I was trying to think of it, I knew the name Marty, but I wasn't sure,
He's pretty good.
I don't know him. So I know, Taylor Noble,
Yeah.
and then I kinda know the automotive guy because he lives by me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the welding guy at all, so I know a handful of people there.
Now, they have like, it's like plasmas, like CNC.
We've got one too,
type
yeah.
style, and, I mean, it's pretty good for us, I mean.
Yeah.
I think my favorite machine I ever ran was a 5 foot by 10 foot model laser.
Yeah, laser's cool. Yeah, Amada does a lot of that punching, a lot of sheet metal stuff, a lot of bending type stuff like that.
What's he, a junior?
No, he's a senior.
Is he trying to go through another afterwards, just, courses?
So he took like the nursing one
Oh, yeah.
last semester.
CNA or?
Yeah, CNA. And he knew he didn't wanna do it, but he was like, yeah, I don't know, it might not be that bad, like 3 days into it, he's like, I'm here,
Yeah.
so when he finished it, and he was like, yeah, I'll try the welding, you know. He just bought a new Lincoln 140 for himself, so,
Right.
He can do okay, you know.
That's what I decided to do right after. Well, now I have a little bit of.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I enjoy it, but, I mean, you're hot when it's hot, and you're cold when it's cold.
Yeah, whenever it's 95 degrees and I was sitting in post.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was,
Yeah, especially when you're covered up and everything, yeah, it's 95 degrees and you're in long sleeve,
Yeah.
jeans, boots,
Yeah.
a hood,
yeah,
you know, and you're like,
I looked like I was in the shower.
you look like you're in the shower, yeah, absolutely, that makes it tough, that does make it tough. Alright, so I'm gonna reset this stuff. I don't think that we'll finish micrometers today, so as of right now, like I said, I don't think we'll finish micrometers, but we'll get started on micrometers today. Micrometers is module 5. You have completed 1 and 2 already. Did you get 2 finished? Okay. And then you need to be working on 3 and 4 tonight, okay? So the assignment as of right this moment is 3 and 4. I don't think we'll get 5 done. If we do, then it'll be 3, 4, and 5. But, so you're gonna log into NC3 tonight or after class, knock out, 3 and 4, and then we'll probably knock out 5. If we can knock out 6 tomorrow, that's great, then we finish up really in a great spot. Okay,
Do I need to pull up slideshow here?
no, it's up here, but let's just go to, where's my, felt like I saw the mouse,
Okay.
there it is, okay. We're gonna go straight to the micrometer.
And there's 3, there's an inch of metric I wanted to.
Alright, so grab your micrometer, doesn't matter which micrometer you have, inch or metric,
They haven't got them yet.
grab your micrometers, inch and metric.
There's 3 of them. There's a 1 to 1, 1 to 2,
Okay.
and then a metric.
Yep. Yeah, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and then a 25 millimeter on the metric one.
Do you remember the year me and Dakota got our bus kicked at Social Side?
Yeah.
That girl?
Did she? What'd she do?
She's a machinist.
Okay.
She runs a Herman. She's terrible. All that crap that she talked to me that day, oh, I got an internship with NASA, all this shit. Nah. She got an internship with Garden Ever in Quincy.
Oh.
And they like showboated her around because she was a girl in machining. And she's an absolute worst person to work with.
Really?
I can't stand her.
No kidding.
We were in the break room, and we ordered pizza every once in a while. And my buddies was ripping the lid off the box and had like, pizza here and just pulled it down second. She's like, well, you're gonna do it all around yourself pizza. I was like, okay, look at that, Alex. It's almost like you bought that pizza.
You don't own this. Chill out.
I was like, I didn't know you bought my pizza. Like,
Right.
I think I paid for it.
Right. Yeah,
And
I'm willing to take the chance.
She was so bad. But she left break.
Did she really?
She's terrible. And anytime maintenance went to the machine Sunday night, like, oh, she's in her chicken, it's not working. They went over there, turned it on, and watched it run for 15 minutes straight, no problem. What
sure
was
it's
it
not
doing? Like, did you have
What was
an
it
alarm?
doing? Yeah, did you turn this thing on?
Like, the laziest ever. Does not work. I mean, she's got constant heart too. But like, actually, I thought she probably started a year after I did, and she messaged me one day. She said, "Hey, no, you know." Oh,
Yeah. I always felt like we got robbed on that.
we know.
Yeah, so we're trying to make a valiant effort to go back to Skills USA.
Has anybody else done one that I did the tech test? That was so easy. You
No.
did it, no problem.
The problem is they're not doing it in the high school side, so they're,
Oh, they're
not
not.
transferring it up to the. They did additive last year.
Okay,
Two students
I've
did
heard it's
additive.
good.
They did a pretty good job. They placed third, I think.
It's
Not bad. And then it was hard last year because it was COVID, so everything was like online and virtual. They would have gotten further along, except for you had to put your stuff into GrabCAD, and they mistakenly didn't put it into GrabCAD, so they missed enough points to put them into third place. They did a great job, I felt like. So
Skills worth a.
we're gonna make a valiant effort to be Skills USA positive on the post-secondary side.
It's
So
a really easy win.
yeah,
It's
and
not hard to win at all.
yeah, and the winners, the national winners, like they get a big old giant toolbox full of stuff. So it's pretty
I
impressive.
know at state, they gave me scholarship or tuition waivers to state tech.
Yeah.
And state fair didn't honor them.
So that is not the case anymore.
Oh, really?
So we went and Austin Martin, who was one of our high schoolers who got third place in there, he got like a $1,500 or $2,000 one.
Right, it's a good bit.
I walked it down there and I was like, what do we gotta do to honor this? I was like,
Yeah, I had two
We've
of them.
got
I
it.
had like $5,000 worth, and they wouldn't do a thing for me.
I
I
can't
was
believe
like,
that.
y'all suck.
it's not fair. It's not okay. Okay, so you've got the parts of the micrometer. So we've got about 45 minutes to cover this, or at least 30 minutes to cover this. You've got your anvil. Anvil is a fixed piece on these styles of this kind of micrometer, typically carbide face. You've got your spindle. It is also carbide face. It is precision ground on it. It slides, should scroll really smooth. These two faces are your measuring face. On a 0 to 1 micrometer, the calibration for it is, or even a 25 millimeter micrometer, is to crank it down. I shouldn't say crank it down. Gently roll it down so that the faces go into each other. If you've got tension in the rolling of it, there is a lock nut here. That lock nut is, if it's hard to turn, that lock nut is on like an eccentric, kind of a cam thing. It should be loose on there, and you should be able to take it all the way down to 0. And I think we did that the other day when we were just going through some stuff. So you're gonna bring this all the way down to 0. Make sure all your zeros kind of line up on the faces that you see. Okay, so mine's 0 all the way across it. If it doesn't, probably need to back it up. Make sure that it's clean, free of any kind of debris. And, it's rare for one of these to be off, so I think that,
this,
I think mine might be as well.
I think it's operator.
I'm gonna guess operator.
Yeah.
Like the face is really good.
Yeah, check the faces. You can also take like a piece of paper, and slip it through there just to get any kind of dust or debris out of there. But it really needs to be, when it goes down, close the faces up, it should read 0. Everybody else's read 0? Did you get yours to 0?
If I use the
Ratchet?
ratchet part, it barely gets there. If I use the actual spindle, it gets there. It's off by just super little amount.
Yeah. Just a smidge. But yeah, if I ratchet, it's off less than a tenth for sure though.
sorry.
That's measured. Get your, use your inch. The metric one will have to 0 out as well, but we're just looking at the inch one right now. So you've got your sleeve, that sleeve, we'll rotate them, we'll take this one apart. The thimble runs on a 40 thread per inch, just a little screw and nut situation, so you take the end of these out. You shouldn't need to. Other than to clean it out, if you blow it out, put a little dab of M1 oil or something in there just to keep it clean. This sleeve, if you'll look on the back of it, kind of towards the bottom, there's a little hole. That is how you adjust it. You take, there are some wrenches in there. If they need to be adjusted, you'll hook that in there. It's a little spanner style wrench, rotate it around so that everything zeroes up. If we need to, we can definitely do that. You wanna make sure that if you take this apart before you put it back in, that it has a light coat of oil on it, and you're gently screwing this thing back together. If you get these threads jacked up, it's really hard to get it to function correctly again. They're pretty tight on the threads. They're brass threads on there, but they're really precision, so it should have no shake or wobble inside the whole unit. You've got your frame. Your frame should kind of always be supported like this, pinky. So, there's lots of ways to mishandle the micrometer, to drop the micrometer. If it's hooked in here like this all the time, whatever micrometer size that you have within reason, should be able to hold it like that and keep a good grip on it. You've got your ratchet stop. Not all of them will have a ratchet stop. Some of them have a thimble, and it just kind of goes loose on the end of it and just spins freely on there. But the ratchet, if you work hard enough on the ratchet, you can crank it down. What happens is that then causes the frame to spread out, and it gives you an incorrect dimension. That doesn't happen much on something like this, but if you've got like a 20 or 30 inch micrometer, it doesn't take much for that frame to start to sway out, I've got one up in my office that's like a 30 or something like that. And it's a hollow frame, so it's a stamped frame.
Really lightweight.
Yeah, and because it gets so heavy. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably flex it, all the way you want to, but you probably couldn't. So, okay. Using the micrometer, this is how it should go. Measuring faces in there, they need to set good and straight on there, so when you come in to measure something, you guys still have your gauge blocks? So take your gauge block and you can even just measure the thickness of it the short way. Yeah, just this flat way. Just crank it down to gently move it down into position. Keep saying crank it down, but I don't mean crank it down makes me feel like I'm giving you the okay to really ratchet hard.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. Okay, do this. Go ahead and measure it. See what you think you get for the dimension, and then write it on your whiteboard, and then show me what you get. Okay, so they should all be roughly the same thickness. I don't know if they're all the exact same thickness. So when reading the micrometer, everything on this is gonna be less than an inch, so it's gonna be points. Then the first number that you're gonna see is the big numbers that you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So you would read it first. So it's probably, you can probably see the number 3. So it's 0.3. Then every section beyond that, that's still on this part, is 25,000. So you're gonna read what you can see. So if you can see 1, 2, or 3 of those, that'll be 325, 350, 375, and then to 400. And then around the outside of it is another 25,000, so you're gonna count that. Yep. Okay, go grab the inch guy. He's gonna need his own anyways.
Do that.
Yeah, make sure you have an inch and a metric. Make sure you don't have 2 inches or 2 metrics.
So there's two showing, so yeah. And then the next one you do would be the 108, and that's the right below this one. And then this one, we just look at super. That's
Very precise here.
how many masters were real quick? Is that right?
I don't know what it is. I don't have it. He's got it. I think you're right.
It's about 350, 360.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're all good then. What do y'all have?
Okay, so when reading the micrometer, you're gonna read what you see. It's going to be point, and then what you can see of big numbers, probably can see the 3, so 0.3, and then however many lines beyond on this part, beyond the 3 that you can see, every one of those is 25 thousandths. So if you can see 2 of these sections beyond the 3, so let's just say this is the 3, and let's just say we're about right here, maybe just a little bit beyond that, I can still see that line, so 325, 350, so then the 5 goes there, and then you're gonna count out how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that goes all the way around 25, so this would be, do it like this. So 25, 50, I can't see the next line, but this is 3, so I'm 353 thousandths. That's what I'm at. You should be probably between 350 to 360, probably is where you're at. What'd you guys get? 3584. Why get yours? Okay. Eden, you got yours? Okay. You guys get yours? Okay. Justin, did you get yours?
I'm like between the 9 and the 10.
Okay, so just what you can see, so if it hasn't reached the 10, then it's gonna be 9. Chance, you got yours?
Not yet.
Okay. So micrometer is one of those things that just kind of become. So you just kind of, like in the beginning, you're like, this is so complicated, but then after a while, you're like, oh, this is just like anything else. So it will start to get more natural as you do it. And you're gonna get, if you're in metrology with me this afternoon, you're just gonna get doubled up on a lot of these things. We're gonna spend first semester looking at lots and lots and lots of measurements. That way we go into second 8 weeks pros at it, that way we don't have to worry about it as much. So we spend a lot of time in the beginning working on it. Alright, you good, Chance, you got it? Nope.
Oh, you might have measured those.
I bet you got the metric one.
Oh, yeah.
You do. You need an inch one. That's the last inch. Keep that. You'll need that. I hope that you need it today, but I'm not 100% sure that you need it today. Alright, I'll let you measure that one. We're gonna keep on trucking. Okay, so these are all the pieces of the micrometer, we talked about that, this is the lock. You should never have to really vice grip down on it, so just snug pressure is all we're looking for. So you wanna take your measurement, lock it down, slide it off of it, and take your reading from it. Also try to avoid doing things like this. It becomes kind of a C-clamp like that, and
It's an expensive seat clamp.
yeah, it's a pretty expensive C-clamp, and what happens is it starts to work on these faces. And so the faces are carbide, you can tell that it's a little bit different metal on the end of that. Super hard, but super, super fragile, so they chip out real easy. Okay, this is the reading of the metric micrometer. So the metric micrometer is listed out, so we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. And then you're gonna read around it, and so this would be almost 9 on there, but still, it hasn't quite reached to it yet, so we still really call it 8. So, reading just a little bit, so on the metric micrometer, we're gonna read full numbers as millimeters, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and beside it, so if it's, like I said, between 5 and 10, so you're just gonna count out 6, 7, 8, 9. All, the top ones are full millimeters, the bottom ones are half millimeters. To me, I think the metric micrometer is actually a little easier to read, but it's harder for me to put in order. So like, I think the system is smarter, but I'm always like, is it 357 or like what does it have to be? Okay. Here's your standard micrometer, and so just read it the way that we had just been talking about. So roll it. Using your fingers to bring it down or out to where it should be. By the time you bring that micrometer over to a feature, if you're gonna measure 3/8, you should be somewhat close to 3/8 of an inch. So 375 all the way to maybe 400, you should be close to that diameter of that. Okay. This is the inner workings of the micrometer head. Really the only problem that you're gonna have is if this gets sticky inside of there. If it gets coolant on it, so if you're on a CNC side, pretty good chance that you're gonna get some coolant in it. You wanna always be cleaning this stuff up. We're gonna get some M1 oil so that we've got some here so that you can clean your tools up. If it needs to come apart, you wanna clean it really good, simple grain it off, dry it off really good, put a little dab of M1 oil or some of that gun oil, and you're good to go. We back up to one more
Yep.
too. Sometimes the end of them has a tendency to come off. These are pretty tight. But there is a slotted screw on the back of those. On yours that you have in your toolkits, I think there's a little Phillips head screw on there. It does come off sometimes, and then the whole end of it, the ratcheting piece on the end of it will come off. It'll still function, but the ratchet part will fall off. And so if that happens immediately, you want to, we'll get some screwdrivers, put them back on, because it's a little small screwdriver. Okay. Some of the there's a ton of different styles of micrometers on there. This one's got 16 30 seconds already listed on there. Sarah's got a bunch of different models that they have. Carbide faces again, and they're non-adjustable. So You shouldn't have to lap anything in. Bigger micrometers would be sent out for calibration. Smaller micrometers aren't worth sending them out. So a small micrometer like that is probably $120. But it would probably cost you $300 to have calibrated. So it's not worth it. So anything probably less than 10 inches, probably not worth calibrating. Okay. You have a ton of special micrometers. So these are what we have in these sets that we're using here. Here you have one where it's going to go onto a diameter or a round shape. There's several different styles of micrometers for oddball things or for special things. Electronic micrometers, probably everybody's favorite thing because it's going to tell you exactly what the dimension is. And they go between standard and metric, and they date them and hold, so you can just lock that number down as to what it is. And if you do the AMI with us later on, we've got the option to plug them into a little network server, and so you can take measurements like along a shaft 4 or 5 dimensions, record the dimension, push the button, record the dimension, push the button, and then prints it all out for you so that you can staple it to a CMM report, or you can have it post out to an Excel file so that it's filling out the documentation. Cool. So it's got to be an SPC style to do that. All right. Tube micrometer. So the idea for tube micrometer is you're going to slip this into the end of the tube, go down on the outside. It's going to measure wall thickness is the only thing that's measuring on that. Automotive disc brake micrometer. Guess what that's for? Automotive disc brakes. So yeah, a lot of specialty ones. You might see that at O'Reilly. Wire micrometer, super small. Groove micrometer, so it's going to measure out to the width of that groove. So like if you have to slip down into a hole, snap ring groove, O-ring groove, quad ring groove, something like that, that'd be a good place for that. Micrometers work pretty simply. They are based upon 40 threads per inch, and that's how you create those 25s and 100s for the revolution of the barrel. Okay. And that's how it happens. On the metric micrometer, the pitch is 0.5 millimeter, 50 turns to travel 25 millimeters. Okay. Analog versus digital versus digit. So this is the digit micrometer. We looked at that earlier when we were looking at some other stuff. I have some digit micrometers like this. What I don't like about them is this is close. This is what it actually is. So you always still have to do this. You always still have to get it. You still have to know what it is. So, like I had some like this, and I just took them and markered them out because I was like, it's too complicated. People are getting confused on what it was. So, but those exist. Depth micrometer. Depth micrometer is kind of the oddball in the micrometer world. You've got your rod that extends out. You've got your base. The longer the longer the depth that you're measuring, the wider the bases typically are. You've got your lock nut the same way. Sleeve, thimble, ratchet is all the same. But if you'll notice, instead of going 100, 200, 300, it counts it in reverse. So you read what you can't see. So in this one, it's 750 thousandths because I can't see. I can no longer see the 7, and I can no longer see the 2 marks before I get to there. So yeah, reading backwards. Yeah. So all of Starrett's micrometers, depth micrometers are they're kind of that satin chrome finish. Helps to keep them from getting rust on them and getting just nasty on the outside, non-glare as well. Okay. So there are a couple of different types of rods for a depth mic. You can have a round rod. That's what we've been seeing up until now. Also have a blade style. So like I've got both, just because like so say you're doing like a shiv or like a pulley and the bottom of it is real narrow. You want that blade micrometer so you get down into that blade or into that groove of that pulley, or just if you're doing a really narrow groove, this 100 groove on this, you would need the blade depth micrometer to get down into it because it's so thin. The rod style wouldn't be able to make it. Okay. Again, here's just a couple varying depth micrometers that we've looked at. Half base micrometer, so if you go into a place where you're on a ledge, not like hanging off a cliff, but like into a cylinder bore or something where the other part of that depth mic would just be hanging off, this is helpful for that. When you have a big set of depth mics, you've got interchangeable rods. When one of them is off, so 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, whatever it might have to be, each one will be an inch. If your micrometer, so if you measure 0 to 1, and then you go to calibrate it on like depth mic tree, or a gauge block, and it's off, you gotta change the rod, not the micrometer head. Because if you change the micrometer head, then all the rest of them are off that same amount. Unless you go in and check them and they're all off that same amount, then you can do it. So before you just go quick to check something or change something, you wanna make sure of what it actually is. Alright, move on. Depth mic, the rods interchange on the end. I actually think there might be. So here is the Starrett depth mic with the interchangeable rod. So you just unscrew the end of this, take the rod out, change the rod out, let it fall back down in there, set it back down in there. So now you just measure to the next inch. Everything's measuring in an inch though, or an increment of 25 millimeters if it's metric. So several different sets. So I've got a 0 to 6 blade, and then I've got a 0 to 12 rod, round rod. So it just kind of depends. I mean, if you work in a place that only does short things, you're never going to need the 12. If you need a place that does really deep holes, you might be in 30, 40 inches for a depth mic. It just kind of depends on what you're going to use.
Do we have any pointed rod?
No, but what I did on some of mine is I've had places where I needed a point. I just buy that individual rod, grind it down to what I need, just throw it in the set with it. But yeah, that's a good point too. So they have specialty ends where they might be pointed or there might be some type of shape on there.
There's some ball end.
Ball end ones on there. So yeah, there's several different styles on there. Small hole gauges. Metrology, I think we looked at those maybe yesterday. Small hole gauges are also in the set. They're just going to expand out. So this ball just opens up in there, and it measures. So small hole gauges measure like 500 down to 200. Then you start to move out to a telescoping gauge after that. All right, let's keep rolling. One thing that you want to be careful with on the full ball versus the half ball, small hole gauge. If you're in the full ball and you're measuring a hole that's really shallow, you've got to make sure that the center of the ball goes down into the hole. Here's what I mean. So if my hole's like this, okay, and I've got a full ball and let's say the center line of this ball is right here, I'm higher, that means the outside point of this is higher than the hole. I'm not going to get an accurate reading. So if I have a half ball, probably get a more accurate reading from that. So full ball could always be used for a through hole. Half ball could be used for a shallow blind hole. You can use a full ball for a blind hole. It's just got to be deeper than the diameter of it. Keep rolling. So here's our small hole gauges. I think, like I said, they must go an 8 to 500. Full ball versus a half ball. That's just an example of what I was just talking about. Probably go to a telescoping gauge. Telescoping gauge, we talked about in metrology as well yesterday. It's going to be spring loaded. You want to make sure that you are not springing this out and then ends pop out on you. When we get to that point, I'll show you how to measure the hole with this so that we can be accurate in doing that. On these, both ends extend out. On some of them, it's rigid on this side, it just does one end moves. Okay. Telescoping gauges go pretty big. Before I would probably only feel comfortable going up to about 6 inches with it. And other than that, I'm probably in an inside mic or some type of bore gauge because I think that I'd probably start to lose some accuracy in there. Okay. So up to 6 inches. These are typically hardened, the ends of them, because they know they're gonna have the impact on them. But you wanna watch the ends, you wanna make sure that they're nice and round. If they get really dented up, then you're gonna have some problems with them. This is a transfer tool, just like a small hole gauge, so you're gonna have to use something other than itself to measure it. It's not a direct reading tool. Okay. Rust is the same as it has been. Okay, let's do this. It is almost 11. Let's stop here. Tomorrow we'll get into accuracy and usage of it. So we'll start doing some field check, calibration, and then we'll start some of our other pieces for it tomorrow. So your homework is 3 and 4. Have those completed before you come back tomorrow, and then we'll do 5 tomorrow. And if we can get to 6, that'll be great. And that way Monday we can move on to something else. If not, we'll finish up 6 on Mondays as split groups. All right, put everything back as it goes. Leave your dicum part on the table, just put it on the granite, and I will take care of it.
We'll be about slide 70 tomorrow.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do I check my student email?
How do you what?
Check my student email.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Okay. So, do you already have an email that you normally use? Okay. So, you should be able to set it up on your phone to have both of those emails come to your phone. And the best way I would say to do that, because there's so many variations, if you'll take your phone down to IT today, do you know where IT is? Do you know where the business office is?
Is it in the same building as the financial aid office?
Yes. So as soon as if you walk in from the east side and go into there, it's gonna be about your first section to the left. We'll set it up for you. It'll take them 2 seconds. And so they'll know your username and password, put you in there and all that stuff, so.
I never got over to the site that the homework's on, so I'm trying to reset that password.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you reset that password, you need to take a picture of the username and password, that way you've got it on there. Yes.
So you want all the sheets on?
I want the first 3 drawn, so.
On the bishop and
Probably